Nadeem, welcome. It's so good to meet you finally in person, even via internet and digital
I mean,
here.
that's why internet exists, right? Here.
Yeah, I guess that's absolutely right. You are such a fascinating artist and musician from everything that I've found. I have spent the last 2 weeks getting to know you quite well through your music and through the different styles of music. And I was hoping that I could just jump right in with already a couple of the tracks that really stuck out to me.
Absolutely. Let's go for it. Happy to jump in and let's do it.
One of them was, I believe, from a larger work called Phoenix of Atlantis. The track from that titled Phoenix of Atlantis that was for solo cello.
It's a very dynamic, arcing piece. And somewhere in that piece, there's a bass clarinet and a bass flute that join in, intermix. It's a long breath, the whole work.
Yeah, beautiful. That movement for the solo cello that I really stuck out to me was sounded gorgeous, great playing. Now I know that you have a really interesting musical background. There's elements of jazz, there's elements of rock and pop, both on the production and on the creation side, and also elements of classical. And I thought that what drew me to this track right away was there was elements of all of those that diverse background built into the track, specifically with the organic nature in which the music unfolded. It felt very improvisatory, but I found myself wondering and thinking, I think this is maybe probably composed out. Maybe there's elements of slightly improvisatory that's been asked for the player, but either way, it has that organic unfolding of something that's improvised.
You are correct, but there's actually no improvisational elements in there. Everything is actually notated out exactly as it is executed. I mean I guess there's an element. There might be a 2% element of improvisational part on the breath work and breathing involved because at one point in that track there's some moans and breathe, like almost some it's an element I enjoy writing a lot in my compositions where it's almost like I want the player and the instrument to coexist as one and as we are breathing creatures, and the cello for example is not a breathing creature, kind of like this melding of the performer and like you kind of I write like the breath kind of gets a little heavy and so at certain parts you can hear more improvisational breath work, I guess.
That's fantastic. That says a lot too about the quality of the writing, for it to be able to come across, and the playing, of course, to be able to also
I
make
will,
that
I
come
will
across.
not name them, but there were a few cellists that were like, I can't play this. I'm not proud of myself for writing that, but it's I mean, it is playable. I mean, it just depends how busy one's schedule is too. There was this great. I love the history of music. Of the concourse of our lives as composers and performers. We tend to romanticize composers historically when they're living, breathing humans like us, and it's great that we romanticize them. But one of my favorite things is like learning about the hardships and the humanizing elements that make those composers. And there's one, I want to say it was a story with Tchaikovsky and him writing that famous violin concerto. And it was the, oh, my daughter's playing piano outside. So you can hear all the contemporary stylings of a 4-year-old on the piano. Um, and I forgot who premiered it, but I remember reading about the virtuosic nature of him composing that, and that a lot of people said it was unplayable,
Yeah,
and now it's just standard repertoire in where we are now, 200
absolutely.
years later.
Well,
Yeah.
as someone who delves with a bunch of different genres, I'm curious your thoughts on, do you imagine, does the idea of genre, does it limit creation and even in a way consumability of musical products, or does it maybe enhance those aspects?
No, I think it enhances all of them. I think it like having it's like 8 legs. It's just like putting those tentacles in all the different genres and avenues because they can all swim together in the same pool and it's all music. And it's extracting elements you like, and there's always going to be a common denominator of something that you like that kind of goes across the board. But then on the opposite end, even if there's something that makes that uniqueness stand out in each genre, I think that adds to your palette of colors as your own character, as your own person. You might have genres you like while you're jogging. You might have genres you want to put on at a dinner party. I mean, it's there. I think music and all the genres are there for us to digest and just eat. Music's like a great buffet, and it's unlimited.
One of the genres that I saw written about quite a bit about you is contemporary classical music. And in fact, the one piece I really wanted to get to, I believe it was just premiered just this past May, this huge work, Pandora's Box.
Yes, very
I'm wondering,
excited about that. Yeah,
could you tell us just a little bit about it for anyone who's watching?
absolutely. I so created this composition, but the composition is an actual physical. Now you're like, yes, the score is a physical thing, but the actual piece is a physical box that has 21 doors around it. So every face of the box adds one more to itself. And the box spins in all dimensional spins. I call it the quantum gyroscopic spin. And it's spun at random, and then a door is open one at a time. And behind every door is a different, I had it here. I won't disturb and grab it because it's outside. But everyone has a different score of music. Not just a sheet of music, a score that I composed 21 different scores, approximately 11 pages each, um, about 144 measures, maybe some of 83, give or take. But they're all different scores behind every door. And then a performer distributes those as the doors are picked and opened at random to 11 players that are performing their instruments, and one by one each musician joins in and performs, overlapping every other musician. Eventually all of the players are connected and performing. And I, as am aging and have kids and unfolding in life, and I just I've seen I kind of like this planet, and I just wanted to provide my own philosophical interpretation of life and our existence as humans. The best way I know how to do that is through music. So what I've done is given the world something a little bit they can look at introspectively in their the concourse within their own lives. And what it is like each musician on stage is an individual, living their life, executing the music that's given to them, and they have to play it the best as they can. They have to live their lives the best they can. And then one person might meet someone else and create beautiful harmonies together. And then a third will enter and cause a little dissonance. And then, another one. And it's a very living, organic piece that explodes on stage and just blooms that way. And perfection isn't what we're striving to, because life isn't perfect, but the creative colors that come out from living one's life and sharing that sound and that sonic palette with others on the stage, and then just allowing the audience to experience that is what I want people to walk away with. And that's Pandora's Box.
That's a beautiful concept. Yeah, I like that. The philosophical aspect of that really hits I think that's very cool. There's a couple aspects about the work that I wanted to kind of tease apart and look, and they're almost
Absolutely.
diametrically opposite. But so maybe you can stick with just the music for a second.
Sure.
You were kind enough to send me some tracks from I believe from the console, the mixing desk of the premiere performance of it, I believe.
Yes, it's live right off the board.
That's
Hasn't been
awesome.
touched. No,
Yeah,
it hasn't been mixed. We are literally just entering the stage of post production right now. So, and I won't get too off topic because I have a tendency to do that, but the live concert will be available in about it's going to take, because it's going to be the first contemporary classical concert, live concert, that was done in 12K. So, right now we're watching. I know this platform supports 4K resolution, um, and people are just pinching into 8K. And
right.
what we've done is we've created something now in 12K, 360 degrees, and it will also be the first one that you can experience in augmented reality. So you'll
Fascinating.
be able to actually explore the stage, um, as an audience member, and actually see people performing up close.
That's very cool. And that with one of my notes, the two notes that I have early on about the work is, one is it's so incredibly ambitious, and everything I've read and what you just described makes it even more so. That the second
So
point I'll
that's
get
why
to in a
it's going to
sec.
take a little time. People are like, where can I see it? When can I see it? Where can I hear it?
Sure,
I'm like, just we'll get there.
we'll get the yeah right.
Technology isn't there yet, but it'll be the first thing out on these platforms when it gets there. So,
One of the things the tracks you sent is the opening of the second act, the beginning of
yes.
Act Two, and it starts with what I believe is at least one marimba, maybe a couple of them. I wasn't sure if they were being recorded and looped, and it was a beautiful sound, had some really cool textures, and at one point I found myself wondering how much of this is composed. And then also, is this composed in cells where the player has some autonomy with how they're or doing things, or are they playing something that's through composed out?
Okay, so yeah, everything you said, check all the boxes. However, we'll go back to the first one, and if I miss answering one, please let me know. But that is one marimba being played by four performers.
Okay,
Now, this marimba, you can actually purchase it through our website. It is made and designed by Marimba One. It's called the Jewel, and on the Pandora's Box website, if you click on it, you will be able to reach Ron Samuels, who is the head honcho over at Marimba One. So Ron flew me out to Arcata at the end of last year to see this thing, and he had heard some of my marimba pieces before, and he was really excited, and I'm a bit of an idea guy, and he goes, oh, I made this for two people. And me being a bit of a physics excitable numbers person, I said, well, four people could play it. And he goes, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And so we are now an authorized Jewel Marimba dealer. You could purchase it. Let him know Pandora's Box, and I'm sure he will give you a Nadeem discount on it. But it is a one of a kind. It's designed in it's a hexagonal design, so it actually, you can see it. Check it out. And so compositionally, we had four performers: MB Gordy, Corey Hills, Carmen, and Camille Thomas. And together, the four of them had different parts that were generated randomly. So the way every section of it, now the uniqueness of it is it's four people playing it. So in the borrow from the Ghostbusters, we don't want to cross streams here, but you don't want to run into the other six mallets while you're doing it. So everyone had a field of play. So there were constraints on compositionally what section would get what notes. But the cool thing is as it was randomly generated, you didn't know what pattern or section or cell of notes you were getting, and it was like a little Terry Riley and C kind of masked in there, but with a very interesting flavor, as you've heard. So overlapping structures, and you can hear them coming in one at a time. There's
Yeah.
almost, it sounds like it's one marimba player growing more arms, is
And that's
what.
partially why I was wondering, is this being looped or something? And then when you say you said it twice now, when you say randomly generated, is this the scores
So
that are being
everything's
pulled
written out. Yeah,
from the
everything.
box that
Yeah. So what's
you don't?
what's
Yeah,
coming out of the box?
that's cool.
Yeah, so the box on the Instagram and the website, you could see like the spinning of the box and how it looks and everything. And the ballerina Emma Harris, she's now our official Pandora. We've made her. She's delivering everything coming out. She's opening the doors. And the story of Pandora, the mythology, a lot of people know or don't know the mythology, and there's so many tales of it. Like some people villainize Pandora, saying like she brought on all these evils into the world. The gods blessed her with curiosity, and then told her, "Don't open this box." She opened it, unleashed all these evils, and then trapped Hope inside the box, and say, "Oh, she's awful because she let Hope in." There's another interpretation saying that she's a hero because she trapped Hope in the box, which is the worst evil of all. It's to give somebody hope, false hope. I don't know, like, oh, I really hope you don't die. Something like that. But the way we are retelling the story is, you know, that she's blessed with creative curiosity. And the beautiful thing about stories of creation is they're always open to interpretation, and I've loved that from every. I've been a huge fan of mythologies and just every story from every cultural section of the planet and the universe of the stories of creation, and I just thought this would be a great way of retelling that, but using creative endowment, almost just like blessing these lives with a little bit of creative roads to travel down, and just bringing with every breath that there's like a new reborn hope a little bit, or a promise almost of creative promise, let's call it.
Now, there was a couple organizations that this seems to be associated with that I was curious about, Servo Media Group and Red Tusk Records, and I know from what I found that you are in some capacities associated with these two different groups. But I would presumably there's teams of people in these groups other than yourself, and I was
Right.
wondering, how do these collaborative partners influence the final product?
On Servo, the Servo Media is Carlos Tavares and Micah Tatum, and they really helped propel me in this vision. Los Angeles is a very wonderful city where you kind of you want to get something done, and there's just a roadblock. There's a lot of problem solving that needs to happen. I had met Carlos, and Carlos got excited about this, and he goes, why are we waiting around? I feel like the world needs to see this. World needs to hear this. Let's just do it. Can you put the players together? I said, great, I'll start making calls. And when you have people who support your vision and where you are, like with the same excitement, I'm not saying it's easy, because it wasn't easy to get something. It's never easy to get, but I think the burden of not going at it alone made it feel easy, because you have a team. And Micah, he came in and was super excited with helping connect dots with like our sponsors and people we were trying to get, involved in certain groups, and just to build it out in a way that I had never done before, because I was coming from a film scoring world where, you you don't speak what you need to speak, and you do what you gotta serve the movie. The movie is the king here. It's fine. I love doing it. It's creative storytelling through music, and it's great to work on that. Coming also from television, where commercials and back, just in, especially with sync, and playing, just playing in there. But this time, the music is the movie. The music is the main characters. The music is the story. And the players are the protagonists within that their own. So there's stories within stories within stories. A Pandora's box of unfolding stories on stage. And the team really understood that and helped accentuate that correctly. And when it came to executing it, it was all the right people. There was also Sarah Mann. She was our stage manager. She runs Madman Entertainment, and she was absolutely instrumental in really putting, I guess, doing all the stage manager stuff, so I could focus on, the conducting, and working with the players. I was driving around LA, answering questions, just being available in the most available capacity a composer could be. I would not answer questions on the phone. I would drive to where they were, and let's take that instrument out. You live 2 hours away. It's okay. This is our project. I will drive there. I spend a lot on gas.
This sounds fantastic. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like, in a way, the collaboration allowed you to really focus on well, I'm sorry to say it this way, but the thing that really matters, which is the music, the way it's being created, the way it's being brought to life. That's amazing.
It couldn't have been possible without the team, like Carlos running his stuff, Micah doing, like, everyone. And that's the thing. It's like you have that team, and you have everyone knowing what they're going to do, and that was absolutely instrumental in having, they're like, relax, we got this, go do that, you need to go do that, go do that, go do that. And that helped, because having players who were confident to execute this level of composition, which there was new symbology I'm writing, a lot of multiphonics in there, working through those. And then there's the integration of ethnic instruments with traditional Western instruments, with instruments no one has ever seen before, like the violin jacket, or the drum dala, or the Medusa harp, and the marble temple, and these are the floating gamelan. These are things that we've also, so in the 3 acts that exists, and this, the piece is divided into 3 acts. I take the audience on a journey. We start with these traditional instruments that we all know and love in the Western orchestra, and the classical European setting. And then I extract a little bit more, and in Act 2 you see the jewel marimba, which has never existed till now. A wall of percussion. I remember I got I said, oh, I need a bass drum. Do you have anything bigger? And I remember there was a mega bass drum, which is 86 inches.
Wow.
And I said, we need that. And where we recorded it, now there's another thing of just like the miracles that took place during the recording. There was it was behind the airport, the Burbank airport, and you can hear airplanes going overhead all the time. And for some reason, on May 18th, there were only 4 flights that took place, and the one that went over us and very loud, I don't know how it happened, but it lined up perfectly as Corey was rolling the mega bass drum.
Awesome.
And I remember I could hear it, and I just slowed down and gave him the moment so it could just really give us everything we needed sonically as that, and that's the take I picked.
That's great.
And I
I
think
love it.
Lucas, our engineer, he said, I think you might be the only composer in history who's ever successfully recorded an airplane takeoff at the same time as a giant percussion roll.
That's
I'm like,
that serendipity. That's great.
that's the universe also wanting to participate a little bit in this
Right.
magical
Right.
endeavor.
I had a lot of fun reading through a lot of the different writings, like I said, about Pandora's Box. One thing that came up in a handful of them that I wanted to ask you about was this the phrase, an aim to change the way the world sees and hears classical music. Now, of course, first and foremost, that's a fantastic marketing sentence. You can say that about something and it creates interest in this, but I'm more interested, especially now that I'm getting to talk to you more and see that clearly you're a deep thinker and you have a lot of aesthetics that I find fascinating, is regardless of the purpose of why it would have been included in a press release, I'm wondering, do you think the world needs to see and hear classical music in a different way?
Yes, I think so. And I'll expand on that a little bit. Like with paintings, I love paintings. And why are we allowed to see Picasso's wife portrayed with spikes all over her head and go and see like different artistic interpretations? Like, here's a guitar, but it's an ostrich with, strings coming out of its ears. Okay, that's the thing. And we have classical music, and I'm not saying to go away from it entirely, but I do think that it does need an evolution. It needs an evolutionary process in its development. I mean, we are in the 21st century, and we're still not programming 20th century composers as often as we are. I mean, there is the give and take of everything. Yes, we have the classics, the pillars. We've got Brahms and Beethoven and yes, absolutely. But there are a lot of living, breathing composers that are doing such profound, exciting work that I think should be programmed a little more and should be given a little more light. And I think that if we strive to go down the road less traveled, let's say, in that genre of classical music, we might surprise ourselves.
Is the road that's left traveled in this, in what you're saying, is that road lead to more modern music that's being currently written, or does it lead to a type of music that might be able to be written that is currently not being written because it can't get performances?
I think it's going to lead to music that's currently not written that can be written, because I think it'll start a fire. I think it'll start and it'll spread pretty fast. And I think the reason why a lot of contemporary composers aren't getting their due is because I don't think their work is it's non storytelling. I think like if people start telling stories a little bit more with their music and putting a little bit more of themselves into it, I feel like sometimes there's the need to do something just to do it without the passion or vigor of creativity behind it. Like it's like keeping up with the Joneses in terms of, oh, he's doing that, I am doing that too. Oh, she's doing that, I should do that too. Like there's no fire in the belly. There's no like, oh, I'm excited to tell this thing. Let me go tell it the way I want to tell it. You know, it's
I
like the
wonder if
guy. I saw this video of a guy. He took a paint can and he put it in a white in a all white hall in a museum, and it was modern art. But then he said you take the same can and you put it in a garage. It's junk. It's it's telling with purpose and having a clear cut plan of doing it. When someone gets into a studio with their band, they have an album. They want to tell the stories, the songs, and things like that. But I feel like, oh, we should do this, but we should put Vivaldi. Oh, we should do this, we should put Brahms. We should do this, but we should pair it up with something like this. And there's nice to do the programming pairing, but there's got to be some linear, cohesive stuff, going on, arcing and all that fun physics. The heavy lifting, no one wants to do.
so. Let's say we want to go. Let's say
Yeah.
we want to go there and we want to take society there. Does the change then that needs to happen for the people, how they see and hear classical music, involve the change is, hey, we need more. You as a listener might need to bring more to the table. It's not enough to just show up and be expected to be entertained, because the lineage of music that's led up to where we are, that has stood the test of time, that has a sense of artfulness, whatever that might be, even though it has a first listenability that is amazing, it's the minutia of subsequent listening or understanding of what's happening and unfolding that makes it timeless, and that requires some effort on the part of the listener. And so something like Pandora's Box, that it is so multidimensional and multimedia, is maybe a way to pull listeners in, that makes it be the word. I think the word interactive gets overused, but by nature of what's happening in Pandora's Box, it just pulls people in, and so they're going to bring more to it, and that could lead to this idea of people going to other contemporary classical works and bringing a sense of, what can I bring to this as a listener? Am I on any kind of a track that?
You are, yeah. And there's it's also yeah, like being curious enough to attend it, like with and composers, we're magicians. Like we have to figure out a way, like how do you entertain the audience? We got to keep them entertained. We got to give them something unique. We got to, but we can't force them to sit through a 3 hour opera of a guy banging a bass drum with a clarinet squirting ketchup on the stage. It's not gonna. There's only so much of that we could do. Like there's and also the idea of understanding the current, historically, again, it's like I'm going in a time machine here, but understanding, Beethoven composing for Napoleon, and understanding these different dynamics of time and place historically where we're at and what's happening around us. And with that, we have in that time and place, where we're at now, there's technology. There's technology that's sitting on the sidelines waiting to be, put me in coach. And it's like, can we as creative composers use that technology to bring audiences in? And that's what we're doing with Pandora's Box. We're incorporating a little bit of that to not, I don't want to use the word alienate, but to not, I guess, we want to have everyone join us in this. We're not trying to keep our demo as, the 55 and 65 season concert ticket holder. We want to bring new blood into the concert hall, and do that. We have to see where I compose. I have a typewriter. I write on because it doesn't steal my ideas. But I have tape over here too. But the thing is, it's like I do know how to send an email sometimes. But understanding the medium where I do compose by hand. Everything I write there, but then it's understanding how to engrave it in well, no more finale, but
No longer, yeah.
trying to figure something else out, which I'm okay still handwriting my scores. I'm okay doing that. But what, with this, we're really trying to stitch in gently that essential unique element that's like, wow, this was cool concert. And the other thing is, like, with our concert, you get to come, you could come see the show 5 times in a row, and you can walk away with a different show every time. And as soon as you change one ensemble member, you get a whole new variable of parameters and colors and everything. So we're constantly changing the colors of the concert as it's colliding in your ears.
There's so much to unpack there. I really love so much of what you're saying. A lot of what you're hitting on is literally the reason I started Art Tracks Chronicle, is to explore things that I'll reframe it. And again, not to put words in your mouth, but that the modern music industry, as seen from everything except for classical, is part one, but then also the modern classical industry, and they are a part of a singular thing, but that there are such prescribed ways of how things are to be done, that one thing that I feel is missing is the ability to explore how things are done, which is what allows new art to really move forward, in my estimation. If you're a rock band, or you want to be anything, now it has to be streaming, which means from the point of creation, it's going to be streamed, which affects, you don't even think about how's this going to be released or consumed. It's just assumed. And on the classical side, you're going to go to school and you're going to study certain things, as amazing as the music is, because that way you know what you're going to do when you go sit in an orchestra, and it's going to continue to be this balance of preserving tradition and finding ways to sell tickets by doing something that's pop-based to pull it in, but again, not allow the exploration of what contemporary music can be doing to move current audiences the same way the traditional music did hundreds of years ago, those audiences.
Right. And then you're like doing the fun thing that we all end up seeing sometimes. It's like you think you're going to see a contemporary classical concert, but you're going to see, the Fast and Furious soundtrack conducted by the orchestra with, that's cool, but you went to see a soundtrack. You went to see a soundtrack. Yeah, you didn't go see a contemporary classical concert. You didn't go see that. You went to go see a soundtrack.
This is fascinating. I'm going to say something that I hope it's not, it's a little, it's very, very honest. And I hope that it's okay. I went into this not knowing what to expect, because when we started communicating and I started researching and looking at things, one of the things that really struck me was, I think I even emailed you about it. Wow, you guys have done a fantastic job with the marketing on Pandora's Box. And in fact, part of me thought this has been done too well. For instance, Temple of Geek had an article, and some of the things that are said in there feel very, to me, hyperbolic, the same way that someone might have a subtitle like the Christopher Hitchens book, God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, that their editor wanted that title because they knew it would push some buttons. And then I even went on to some LinkedIn, I don't remember whose post it was, but this term, revolutionized classical music, was used, I counted 16 times on the post, and every single answer, so much that to me it felt, this feels prescriptive. This feels like guerrilla marketing to get an idea out. And so in prepping for today, I wanted to set up to get to where I want to get right now about marketing. But what's really fascinating is, in the course of our conversation today, I've done a complete 180 from moving from, hey, I'm wondering about these marketing tactics and if it does X, Y, Z, to thinking, hey, Nadeem, I've had these thoughts before, and I have this thought, I want to see what you think about what I'm going to unfold, because I really love so much of the stuff that you're saying. So let's say that we have what I'm going to call marketing, capitalistic marketing practices. And I don't mean it in a pejorative way at all.
No, none taken.
Okay. It's going to be strategies that maximize profit and the market share. It's going to focus on consumerism, competitive prices, aggressive advertising, brand loyalty, market expansion, and methods are going to include creating perceived needs that the thing that's being marketed happens to alleviate those needs, which is essentially leveraging consumer psychology, and the goals are centered around economic growth. If we can even on some level agree that this is a strategic marketing practice, what I would be curious to get your thoughts on, if a work of art is marketed using these capitalistic marketing practices, does that work of art become intrinsically linked to the mechanisms and perceived values of that capitalist system? Or can it exist as a work of art outside of those things?
It can exist as a work of art outside of those things. And there's there's nothing wrong. Obviously, we're not looking at this in a pejorative way of creating something of commercial value with marketing success, because where we are at now is understanding the market, the box office, the growth, and how we want to find that medium that can merge art and commerce together without diluting either. I'm building I'm not prepped for this as well as I had thought, so I'm just kind of going off what I know and what I would love to work more into the arc of what I would like to see happen in both music and stuff. Like, we have a value on a Banksy, for example, and that's what it is. But or a banana duct taped to a wall, right, for example. But I think Picasso painting spikes all over his wife's head. There's a value to all of that. Or a baseball, a home run baseball. There's, why did music get left out of the equation in there? I think that's now where we're at, like, in the posthumously kind of like, oh, this is Mendel's, or these are some Bach mass that was found in a butcher shop by Mendelssohn. Oh, well, Bach's been dead for 100 some years, and he was being used to wrap old meat in. Oh, well, let's put a value on it. Oh, it's a very famous mass now. Oh, there's all these things that end up happening after. Why can't it happen now? Why? And it doesn't dilute one or the other. What dilutes it is kind of like the bombardment of mediocre works in the stream. So and then what, the value of the work that isn't mediocre then gets judged as being too good of a marketing thing, but the intention was never to do it as that, but it naturally developed and cascaded into a revolutionary thing, or a pioneering idea, something that can create both innovation and creation all bundled into one, to maybe explode or to propel a new age of classical music, let's call it, with like a group of seven, for example, that really push the boundaries of where we're at commercially, technologically, and artistically, and merging that into a new digestible market, a new medium for artists, musicians, singers, songwriters, composers to start earning a living through their creative craft, without kind of mediocritizing, I guess, the nature of the beast. but keeping people excited enough to create something worth talking about.
Nadeem, where can people find your awesome music?
Well, Pandora's Box is on Pandora's Box FYC. So that's F as in Frank, Y as in yogurt, and C as in Charlie. And also on social media. My Instagram, I'm doing a lot more active engagement on there. So it's just my last name, MAJ as in Julia, D as in Delta, ALANY. And my website, which is nadeemmajdalany.com. If there's a way we can tag those somewhere, you can follow with the project. We're going to be making some exciting announcements, and actually, and then Marimba One is directly connected with us there. People want to check out that marimba, um, get it in their homes. Um, Let me know if there's a few different versions of it. We'll happy to connect you directly with Ron, and you'll have your own jewel marimba. Um, what? Oh, there's going to be a trailer, by the way, coming out.
Wonderful.
Um, Probably, I want to say optimistically in October. So
Okay.
yeah, which fingers crossed on that. It's a lot of moving parts. No pun. Like literally, it's going to be exciting. And then early 2025. So probably end of January, beginning of February, we are probably going to start announcing dates where you could see this both live and virtually as well in augmented reality. So you'll be able to literally walk through my world. Uh,
That all sounds amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to get to chat with you.
Thank you
And
for
I
having me.
hope we get to do it again because of many of the things we just started scratching the surface of it. But
I'd be delighted to. Thank you for having me.
yeah, and I'll like I said, I'll link to all the things that you mentioned. I'll link for sure in the description of the YouTube video, and I'll put as much stuff on screen as I can.